This is a war. It may not be in a region familiar to most, and it may not even involve people you care or know much about. But what's happening is not only a humanitarian matter, it has global, political, and historic implications that impact you and me today and forever. Why? Because staying complacent in the face of unjustified aggression will shape the world we live in. And if the world stays silent, it is bound to happen again, this time on our watch.
Oil-rich Azerbaijan purchases sophisticated military technology.
Azerbaijan is one of the birthplaces of the global oil industry and a huge supplier to not only Turkey and Israel, but also to the United States. Now, I am blessed to call the U.S. home. Being a person of Armenian descent, though, I have a personal connection and a personal responsibility to tell this story. When I was 3, my parents and I visited my aunt who lived in Armenia at the time. The 10-day vacation left a lasting impression on my young brain, and it evoked emotions my young heart would not understand for years to come. Imprinted in my memory are the images of grand churches, some carved into mountainsides, some on mountaintops, but all very old. Many of these churches were erected in and after the 4th century, about the same time Mesrop Mashtots invented the Armenian alphabet. His statues in the alphabet, carved into stones, are proudly displayed everywhere in Armenia, and I remember them vividly. While I never returned to Armenia again, there has always been an unexplainable connection with the land and its people, thousands of whom are scattered all over the world. Many are survivors and children of survivors of the 1915 Armenian genocide. And what we all have in common is a bond that makes us proud of being Armenian, our history, heritage, and culture that we strive to keep alive. My family lineage goes back to Armenia, dating back to the 1800s, but I grew up in Iran, where my Armenian ancestors had settled years before the genocide. Growing up, life seemed somewhat normal until the Iranian Revolution and the war, the Iran-Iraq war that followed, that lasted for about a decade. My twin years were spent nail-biting in the dark, nights in bomb shelters and basements, waiting and hoping that missiles would miss us. It's a story that is now unfolding in Artsakh.
They're shooting. Come over here. It's coming in close.
As the men fight in the front lines.
We're not scared, and we don't think about our life right now. We think about our country.
Women and children are underground in unheated basements, sheltering day and night from ongoing violence. My personal encounter with war left a lasting impression and shaped the trajectory of my life. So I can feel. And I have felt it my responsibility to speak truth to power, essentially dedicating the last 22 years of my life to journalism. This is what we do. I tell you my story because so many of you have asked to understand what is going on with Armenians around the world. Why are we protesting? Something happening half a world away, and why should you care? And as you watch, I'm not going to ask you to take sides. However, I am going to ask you to have an open mind and consider historical facts. Do your research, stay informed, stay educated, and use the power of your voice and the power of your vote. Before we move forward, a few very important facts. Armenia is the world's first Christian country. Artsakh is a South Caucasus territory north of Turkey and Iran. To its east is Azerbaijan. Artsakh has been part of Armenia and its ancient land to Armenians since 150 BC. That's 150 before Christ. Between 1914 and 1918, the Ottoman Empire took over Baku, which is the current capital of Azerbaijan, and created this independent country of Azerbaijan. In 1921, after the Soviet Union took control, Its leader, Joseph Stalin, gave Artsakh to Azerbaijan. In 1988, the first violence of the current conflict broke out. Artsakh National Assembly voted to dissolve its autonomous status and joined Armenia.
During the fall of the USSR,
between 1992 and 1994, war over the territory claimed more than 30,000 lives and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. It ended with Russian-brokered truce.
It's really hard to describe how terrifying it is when the city is being shelled.
Artsakh is actually a territory that is legally a part of Azerbaijan, but has been occupied and run by a self-declared government of ethnic Armenians since 1994, and it's been backed by Armenia all these years. Now, decades of negotiation involving France and Russia and the US have all failed to resolve this conflict.
Fighting has broken out between two former Soviet republics.
Some would have you believe this is a fight over territory and land, but it's so much more than that. To understand it, we need not only facts, but also historical context.
Some survivors that talk about their journey in detail, and they become my heroes.
More than 3 million Armenians, Assyrians, and Greeks were hung, executed, tortured, and exiled into starvation by the Ottoman Empire.
It's an experience I wouldn't wish even my worst enemies.
Historians and scholars have called it the first genocide of the 20th century. The word genocide was created expressly to describe that crime. And at the time, the rest of the world was not paying attention, and by the time international powers realized what was going on, it was too late.
I lost 11 members of my family.
The Ottoman Empire claimed it was civil war, and to this day, modern-day Turkey, formerly Ottoman Empire, continues to deny the atrocities. Hitler followed the Ottoman Empire's playbook. The Holocaust followed.
Don't ignore it by thinking, well, this is the other guy, and I cannot be involved.
That because the Nazis are gone doesn't mean that evil is gone in this world.
And then there was Rwanda, Cambodia, Libya, Guatemala, Syria, all a small group of marginalized people who were deemed unimportant, dehumanized, and targeted because they were different in race, in nationality, or religion. Crimes against humanity transcend borders and nationalities and represent how systematic injustice can be perpetuated even in our country, city, or neighborhoods. You know, earlier this year, millions around the world took to the streets and protested systemic racism and oppression and injustice in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm gonna turn around and get your sign. There it is, see? What was I just talking about? Thank you. This is why Armenians, a small tribe of people who are fighting a war half a world away, matters. They represent, this war represents the fight you and I share, the fight for freedom, for equality and peace. If you've ever met an Armenian or have an Armenian friend, you should probably check on them. And you should know what's happening. And what's happening has deep and historical roots, and it is stirring a lot of intergenerational trauma. Check on those friends. Let them know you stand with them. Ask them how they're doing and how you can help. And if you're wondering why you should do that, it's because you have heard before that history repeats itself. Because the truth is that if any force thinks that they can get away with it in silence once, they will repeat their actions again and again and again. Over the past few years, Turkey has been on a land grab from indigenous people of Kurdistan, northern Libya, Jordan, Iraq, and the Eastern Mediterranean. And the only thing preventing the Islamic-dominant pan-Turkic countries of Turkey, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, from recreating a neo-Ottoman empire is the 15,000 square mile of Christian-dominant Artsakh and Armenia. This is land the size of Delaware. The most current escalation of the attack is exacerbated by the fact that Turkey is openly supporting Azerbaijan's efforts.
Hold on. Here, just stay here. And Azerbaijan wants to make genocidal acts here against all Armenians.
For a lot of Armenians, the involvement of Turkey has confirmed their view that this is an existential conflict, a continuation of the genocide, they say. The Turkish president stopped short of confirming Turkey's mission, saying, quote, "We will continue to fulfill this mission which our grandparents have carried out for centuries in the Caucasus region." The Azerbaijani president has also echoed similar sentiment.
This is what life has been like in Nagorno-Karabakh's capital Stepanakert for more than a week.
France, Germany, Italy, the United States, the European Union, and Russia have urged a ceasefire. Canada has suspended weapons sales to Turkey. On October 8, 2020, representatives of the European Union spoke boldly against Azerbaijan and Turkey's violations of international human rights laws, demanding that world powers take action. And despite these statements, there's the elephant in the room, just why the people who shape world politics are not taking immediate action to intervene before it's too late.
Why is the international community almost unanimous in its refusal to recognize the independence or the Armenian connection of Karabakh?
We have nothing to offer, I guess. We don't have the Azeri oil, we don't have the Azeri caviar, we don't use laundromat to bribe European politicians. Azerbaijan is succeeding because it has got the resources, it has got the money, and it can actually use the oil cart to threaten some countries.
It's Turkish. And the main thing is that it's from an F-16.
F-16 bombing. F-16.
What do you do with Turkey? Is Turkey a reliable partner? I know they're a NATO ally. Are they a reliable partner?
Well, I have a little conflict of interest because I have a major building in Istanbul, and it's a tremendously successful job. It's called Trump Towers, 2 towers instead of 1, not the usual 1, it's 2. And I've gotten to know Turkey very well.
There are so many other factors in this conflict, so many interlocking interests and external players and potential dangers. You see, Azerbaijan supplies Turkey with natural gas and crude oil through a pipeline, and this pipeline is called the BTC pipeline, and it passes 10 miles of the Azerbaijani-Armenia border and 30 miles of this conflict zone. According to AsiaTimes.com, British Petroleum is behind this pipeline and has invested at least $15 billion into the country. This pipeline is meant to help end the United States' dependence on oil from the Persian Gulf. The pipeline ends right next door to a massive American air base in Turkey. This is a region with questionable ethics. According to Transparency International, Azerbaijan ranked 20th out of 168 countries in the Global Corruption Index in 2017. It is widely reported that Azerbaijan's dictator, as well as Turkey's president, have historically been silencing opposition voices for decades. Information is being censored and journalists are being jailed. In fact, in this current war, Azerbaijan has blocked access to international journalists wanting to cover the conflict.
But I think it's important that people know the conditions we're working under and that our movements and our freedom to report is somewhat controlled.
Years of censorship and misinformation by Turkish and Azeri governments has created a population that has no historical perspective, and to no fault of their own, they are being used as puppets fueled by propaganda and untruths.
Armenia is under attack.
I'm Lilith Bush.
And I'm Reggie Bush.
I'm Michael Costello.
I'm Paul Kermirian.
I'm Louisa.
Just in the past few days, there's been coordinated cyber attacks on celebrities who have spoken out in support of Armenia.
Everybody's talking about all these celebrities posting in support of
what's happening in Armenia and then removing their posts. And everybody's like, well, it's because they're being bombarded with these comments.
When I woke up, people were attacking me. People from one country is telling me something, and the other people from another country is telling me something else.
I just went and clicked through the stories of an Azeri influencer. It gave me some insight into what these people are freaking doing to get all these celebrities to remove their posts. In this post, she's telling everybody, go onto their business website, start giving bad rating, and they're starting to lose business because of these fake reviews. She's pointing out Cardi B's post, and she's directing them to comment under her older posts where Armenians are not interacting with, and she's telling them to go into the DMs and just keep tweeting her with their facts. They're attacking all the celebrities that are showing any kind of support. Use these hashtags, harass these people. So it's very, very organized.
Spam for 188 pages about my product.
Currently, the cyber bullies are trying to shut people up by attacking their businesses and using aggression online to stop people from speaking the truth.
No matter where you stand on this issue, it is important to remember that this is about human lives, and there must be accountability for war crimes.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Bouchra, j'ai 18 ans et je suis d'origine turque. Je ne suis pas contre mon peuple, je suis contre mon gouvernement, parce qu'il nous force à choisir un camp. Il nous force à faire des choses qu'on ne veut pas faire. Nous sommes victimes de son égoïsme.
There is a bitter truth. Nobody seems to care. And as the legendary author William Saroyan once said, we are a tribe of unimportant people from a forgotten land. Or are we? Armenia has a population of 3 million, but its diaspora concentrated in the US with significant hubs in Lebanon and Australia and France and Russia extends to at least double that size. And many of those people are survivors of genocide. And in exile, generations of displaced people have nurtured a resilient national identity and powerful advocacy and political machine. We have money and voting power.
Shut down a stretch of Glen Oaks Boulevard. We saw similar marches through the streets of Hollywood, Burbank, and North Hollywood over the weekend. Protesters even stopping traffic on major freeways for hours before police asked them to leave. Today, local leaders spoke out in support of their message.
On a bipartisan basis in Congress, Jackie Speer and I have introduced a resolution.
We display a unique sense of compassion for humanity, and despite the atrocities inflicted on our people, we still are hopeful, have faith, our hearts are open and worn on our sleeves. At last check, the global Armenian community has raised $90 million and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical equipment and humanitarian supplies, all of them bought and shipped to Armenia in a matter of hours. Social media feeds have been taken over by Armenian celebrities.
It's Kim Kardashian West.
I'm Khloe Kardashian.
Influencers, students, everyday ordinary people. They've been posting and educating and informing and demanding that the world break its silence. That our friends with whom we stood in the name of equality and justice join us.
And so dire.
There's been a full court press on the media and in full transparency on me as well, demanding that media outlets provide fair and accurate coverage about a small war with global implications. This is war. This is an unfamiliar region. This is a group of seemingly unimportant people. But this is us. You know us. You work with us. You build with us. You love our loyalty and our friendship. You love our hospitality and generosity. You celebrate with us. You read our literature. You dance with us at our weddings and eat khorovats in our backyard, and always with the side of vodka to boot. You know us.
Hollywood protest. We're making food for everybody.
We are peaceful, loving people. But, we can't do this alone. We need your support. We are the children and the grandchildren of genocide survivors. And as Soroyan famously said in his quote, this small tribe of unimportant people whose wars have been fought and lost. And you know something? We're still fighting a war. But now, our voices will rise. Music will echo in every corner of the world. Our laughter will become louder. Our prayers will be answered. For no matter where we are in the world, by a click of a mouse, we are creating a new Armenia every day, everywhere. We will not be silenced, and neither should you.